Godzilla is certainly having a moment. The movie Godzilla Minus One picked up some gold at the Oscars recently for Best Visual Effects. And then separate from that, we have the entire Warner Brothers Monsterverse, as it's called, which is all of the movies and TV shows they've been releasing with Godzilla and King Kong. We had an animated series earlier in 2023 called Skull Island. That was on Netflix. Now we have a live action one that takes place after the events of the 2014 movie Godzilla, starring father and son team Kurt and Wyatt Russell. This is on Apple TV Plus. It's called Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. This is streaming on Apple TV Plus, and just putting a pin in my 2023 TV shows before I finally do my best and worst of the year. I have just a few left, and this one is one of the later ones to come out of the year that I had not tackled yet. And I figured it was timely because we have this new Godzilla and Kong movie coming out in just a couple of weeks in theaters as part of this entire sort of franchise that Warner Brothers has been doing for about a decade now. But this takes place about a year later from the events of the 2014 movie Godzilla. So before we launch into any of this further, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got movie and TV reviews galore here on the channel. Just about every day something new goes up. And I did review Skull Island, which was the animated movie, which obviously tied into Kong Skull Island, but that is also part of this Warner Brothers Monsterverse. So I will put the link to that video at the end of this one, and you can check out my thoughts on that. But this one is the live action one with the father and son team of Kurt and Wyatt Russell, among some other people. But anyway, please consider subscribing to Dan Reviews It. Like this video, comment below. All of that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. So let's get to this one. Like I mentioned, this is taking place about a year after the events of the Godzilla film, and half-siblings Kate and Kentaro Randa. Kate played by Anna Sawai, who I don't know, and then Kentaro, rather, played by Ren Watabe, who I also don't know. And they are investigating their missing father, Hiroshi's connection to this covert organization known as Monarch, which is monitoring all of these giants known as Titans, of which Godzilla and King Kong are two. And so we have a lot of time jumping here in this. Yes, the current day takes place in 2015, but this dates back all the way to the 70s as well. And Kurt and Wyatt Russell don't really share any scenes because they are playing the same character in different, not timelines necessarily. Well, I guess timelines, whatever. But so they play Lee Shaw, who was a U.S. Army colonel who joins Keiko and Bill investigating monsters, and then gets involved with Monarch eventually. And then Kurt Russell, in the current day, he portrays the older version. Now, we don't meet him until almost 2/3 of the way through episode 2. So, if you're looking for him right out of the gate, if you're a huge Kurt Russell fan, he is here, but he doesn't show up right away. First, we want to establish some of these characters from the 70s. Or I guess maybe it dates back to the 50s even. There are a lot of different timelines here because at one point we're looking at the grandchildren of one of the characters. So I guess maybe it does date back to the 50s. I got a little lost with all of the different timelines. And so I will recommend going on to Wikipedia. IMDb maybe has something similar, but if you go on Wikipedia and look up all the episode descriptions, it tells you, okay, this is the year that this happened in this episode, and then this year and this year. Because even though the present day version is 2015, we're jumping around a lot. And of course, you can tell, by some of the characters. Obviously, we know who Kurt Russell is, we know who Wyatt Russell is. Some of these other characters I don't really know from Adam, so the timeline hops are a little bit confusing. So not to spoil my Skull Island animated TV show grade, because I'd like you to watch that video as well if you haven't, and I'll put that up, like I said, in the thumbnails at the end of this video. But one of the problems there was not enough monsters, right? And this show has a similar issue. However, I feel like it's a little bit more forgivable because of budget constraints. When we're looking at, okay, obviously Warner Brothers is probably spending 180 to 200 million on these Godzilla and Kong movies that they're making, but a TV show is not going to have that kind of budget. Yes, we've seen some on streaming, like some of the Disney Plus Marvel shows that have pretty decent budgets, but for the most part, this is not going to be a $200 million venture for, a handful of episodes. So it makes a little more sense that we wouldn't really see a ton of the monsters, in this show. First episode does grab you with a nice, monster fight scene. But in the animated series, I didn't quite understand why we didn't see more monsters. You could just, instead of drawing people, just draw the monsters, fighting. And so that was a little bit of a letdown for that. But this show actually thrives on its character development. And, I'll put my Godzilla -1 review up as well. Even though it's not part of this universe, it is still a Godzilla-related product, obviously, and a hugely successful one. I'll put that review up in the thumbnails as well, because what really set that apart from a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff in the MonsterVerse is the human development. The characters are great in Godzilla -1. We really are rooting for them, and it was a great mix of, both monster fighting sequences and human interest. And so we get that a little bit here with this show, Monarch, but not to, the balancing that I would like. But because of budget constraints, it makes sense. I would rather see them spend their money on like 2 or 3 really amazing fight sequences than 10 kind of shoddy looking ones, right? And so I'll forgive that. Plus, there's so much with the characters because we're looking at so many different timelines and different generations of these characters and this organization, that it is definitely a little bit necessary, I think, to focus a little more on the characters here. And, of course, we've got to sort of bridge Kong Skull Island, the movie, and the current day Godzilla stuff. Because at the end of Skull Island, which takes place in the 70s, we see, this is the movie Kong Skull Island, not the animated series. We see the tag scene in the credits was present day or I think it was present day, whatever, I get confused, but it had to do with with Godzilla, and I was like, well, wait a second, we're in the 70s, Godzilla's taking place in the present, how are they going to merge these two worlds? So in fact, in the first episode of this show, Monarch, we have John Goodman reprising his role from Skull Island. Always love to see him. And so we know, okay, now this is going to be, partially in the 70s or whatever. So, some time hop confusion for sure. I do recommend looking at the wiki page for the show to kind of see where we land with all of the different decades that we're in with this show and all the different characters. But it is a compelling show with really interesting characters and a great, I don't know if mystery is the right word, but certainly there's some mystery aspects of, who is this organization and how exactly do they fit in with everything. So, this is definitely, I think, the better, I should say, of the 2 shows. It's better than the Netflix animated series by a little bit, and probably better than most of the MonsterVerse movies as well, although I did really like Skull Island. It's probably about that level. But recently, certainly Godzilla -1 is the crowning achievement for, all the Godzilla output that we've got going on. But I will leave Monarch Legacy of Monsters with a B+. You can check out Season 1 now on Apple TV+, and check out this new movie, I guess, coming to theaters in just a couple of weeks as part of this universe as well. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.